And the hits keep coming for Miami recruiting. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, talking up the Canes each and every week. And we do so with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Please lock it in right here. And if you've yet to do so, you will be glad that you did when you hear Cam's analysis of Miami football. And with the recruiting run that the Canes are on, it's not just insightful. It's fun for him to deliver and for most of you to take in. Cam, we appreciate you stopping by as always. And I know you're ready to talk Miami football.
Yeah, man. It's good to be here. It's a different day than normal. So I got this Wednesday evening time going on, so we can just sit here and chat and everything. I'll try not to be as memeable, apparently, as I've been. My buddy JP has been clipping GIFs and videos from prior appearances and everything. But, I mean, yeah, it is fun, and we're here to do it, so we'll have a good time.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know, right?
So folks, Cam's first point is that a good reason why you subscribe is you don't know when we're going to be on. We've made Saturday a fairly consistent time and date for you, but we've got organized schedules, but we do deliver Miami Talk each and every week. So please subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live. All right, two more in the fold. Brashard Smith, you've analyzed and certainly set us up for his commitment. Thomas Davis, not quite as much information on him, at least in our conversations. So, Brashard Smith, your take.
Brashard Smith is a guy that Miami should have gotten, pretty much. This is a guy that's analogous to a lot of maybe smaller receivers here recently. He's 5'8.5", 190 pounds. So he's short, but he's thickly built. And he's fast. He's like special kind of fast. Not myself, but looking at other comparisons of his speed, he's been favorably compared to Tyreek Hill, favorably compared to Henry Ruggs, favorably compared to Marquise Hollywood Brown in terms of speed. Look, man, that's game-breaking speed. I can take it the distance on any play, kickoff return, punt return. If you want to hand me the ball, if you want to pitch me the ball, if you want to throw me the ball on a short pass, intermediate pass, long pass, in space next to somebody, whatever, that speed he runs past angles of fast guys in South Florida that you'll see on his highlight film. You can see in a couple of the games, these big time teams that, and he's one of the guys from Palmetto also as well, in addition. So you can see, Palmetto plays a very good schedule. They play a high caliber classification of football. And Brashard Smith is running away from guys. Somebody posted up a hook and lateral of Jason Marshall on the hook and the lateral going to Brashard Smith from when they were in Optimus ball. So this is like middle school football. When Jason Marshall, who's one of the other of the Palmetto 5, 6'3" cornerback, he's a bigger wide receiver, obviously, and he pitched it to little diminutive Brashard Smith. And even from Optimus ball, this guy is missing. Gone. And if you're talking about keeping these guys home, that's huge. If you're talking about adding speed and skill in space players to this team, that's huge to be able to get him. So, I made the comparison for everybody who was mad that Miami did not go after Isaiah Joystick McKenzie from American Heritage years ago, and instead at that same slot got Braxton Berrios, who had a very, very good career here. But if you wanted that guy locally, you got him. Also as well, if you're, earlier, Miami was going after Christian Leary from Orlando Edgewater, a very, very fast player. He chose Alabama. But you get the guy who's almost pretty much equal, but the local version, you take the local kid every time. If all things are being equal. I did see Christian Leary, and I made that comparison on Twitter as well. Somebody found a tweet of Christian Leary saying he wants to race Brashard Smith to see who's faster. Now, I had some other people, some track people say, hey, if I'm talking 40 or 60, I'm taking Brashard. If we're talking 100 meters, I'm taking Christian Leary. But they're that same kind of fast where it's in that kind of conversation. And you go look up the highlights of any of the players I've mentioned. Isaiah McKenzie, Christian Leary, Henry Ruggs III, Hollywood Brown, or Tyreek Hill. Go look up their highlights and look at how fast they are. These are the players that he's compared to on the basis of speed. You cannot denigrate that take. You cannot talk badly about it. It's a huge win. He's a local guy. He goes to Palmetto as one of those guys of the Palmetto 5 that we've been talking about for the longest time. So you have Brashard Smith, committed. Savion Collins, committed. Well, I mean, people were talking about him maybe going to Florida earlier. Who knows if that momentum has been slowed. Then you got Jason Marshall. Miami is still chasing. Corey Collier. Miami's in the final three, but probably not as high chasing because why? You got Cameron Kinchins and you got James Williams at safety already. And then you got Leonard Taylor, who's announcing on August the 6th. And all signs are pointing towards, it seems, that Miami is pulling in front for him. And he's a 5-star defensive tackle. So, I mean, in terms of Brashard Smith, it's just every way that you look at it, it's good. Whether you're talking about high school connection, whether you're talking about his individual ability and speed, it's just a good get. It's a good take, and it just adds a dynamic element to this offense. And this is what I've been talking about with Malik Curtis from Bishop Verot, who Miami apparently is recruiting as a cornerback in this current class. The speed is similar with him as well. And this is what I'm talking about having Malik Curtis play offense instead of defense. But hey, we'll see. The other one that committed since the last time we talked was Thomas Davis. He's a 3-star edge from Valdosta Lowndes High School. Their quarterback is a 2022 kid named Ja'Curry Brown, who's incredible. I forget who they played. I think it was Northwestern or Miami Central. One of the two teams went up there, and he hung crooked numbers on them in a nasty, nasty video game kind of a way. Anyway, Thomas Davis was the Defensive Player of the Year in his region. I think he had 17 sacks. He played some slot receiver / tight end. And I think he had like a 95-yard touchdown, but he's running away from guys at, 6'1.5" 235, so he's a little shorter than you would like. He's almost a little tweenerish. So maybe, you play some games with him at the end of the line, whether you're going to be in a 30 front or a 40 front. Is his hand going to be down? Is he going to stand up? These are things that we've done with Trent Harris before, because he was not an overwhelming physical specimen at that defensive end spot either. But and physically, I mean, in terms of height and length. In terms of speed, however, speed and quickness, Thomas Davis has it in spades. So you add another guy to the defensive line group in a dynamic defender. Again, you're playing in South Georgia. You're playing some of the best high school football around between Florida teams and Georgia teams and even maybe some Alabama teams, because it's that far south. You're not that far away from, East Alabama. But I mean, Davis, is just another good get. He's another player, and he does not need to come in and play day one. We can figure out what we're going to do with him and develop him along the path, just because defensive line or defensive end along with safety, Miami's just been stacking elite talent on elite talent on elite talent. And we did that, with getting Davis, which is one of the recruiting rules of what we need to do. And then you add Brashard Smith, which is speed kills. It's one of the recruiting rules. I think that's recruiting rule number 4. You cannot have too much speed. And if you want to talk about it, I didn't mention him in that prior point about Brashard Smith. Tutu Atwell. That's a guy, he played high school quarterback and everything, but you see him at Louisville. That kid is different kind of fast. And I think Brashard Smith is faster. So, yeah.
So, Cam, my approach, and people that watch me on a regular basis know my approach is to know the current college football personnel and historically. So I keep up with what's going on right now, and I keep up historically. In terms of what's happening in the future, mainly recruiting, I leave it to guys like Cam, and he is at the very, 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 very top of the list in regards to who I respect to bring on here to provide insight and information, not just on Miami recruiting, but it obviously, because of who they're targeting, goes to other locations. So I'm not a recruiting guy. So from talking to me many, many times here, what my first go-to information is. I go to the 247 Sports Composite, and it tells me Brashard Smith is the 57th best wide receiver in the country. You're rating him with not just necessarily great players at the collegiate level and potentially impact players at the NFL level. We shall see. Hollywood Brown and others. Who did you mention? Tyreek Hill, already a great player in the NFL. But when I see 57th rated, I'm still trying to think, okay, 3 to 4 starters per team, 75 in the Power 5. There's about 210 or more, 250 starting wide receivers in the country. He's a top 57 player wide receiver. It just doesn't seem that lofty for what you and others are saying about Brashard Smith.
60 out of 210 is top third, because 70 would be in the top third if you were to go that route, just on those numbers. But he's a specialized player. So if you're looking for, in terms of wide receiver recruiting rankings, you're going to look for everybody's All-American. The Amon Richards is 6'2", 190 pounds, sub 4.4 40, can jump over guys, which we saw Amon do before. Unfortunately, he had to medically retire and things like that, where it's going up for a jump ball, whether at Notre Dame, he literally hurdled a guy and kept going, things like that. And the physical size, you're going to want it to be more prototypical. So 5'11" and up, really probably that 6 foot 6'1" and up. You're going to look for those traits, and that's going to be a big part of the evaluation. So you have a guy who's 5'9" on a good day. Like I said, he's 190 pounds, so he's thickly built. Like you look at him, he's short, not small. Okay, so it's like Barry Sanders, like Darren Sproles is short but not small. And you have that kind of thing with Brashard Smith in terms of, yes, he is shorter than you would like, but he's not a small guy, but he's really fast. But, when you have these Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, AJ Green, number 1 overall wide receivers, you put them anywhere in any offense at any one of those positions, X, Y, Z, slot, doesn't matter, and they're going to do numbers. Brashard Smith, you're not necessarily going to – you might be able to put him everywhere because he has the speed, but you're going to have to use him in a certain way because of the speed and because of he has that elite speed, but the lack of height pairing. And there is a little bit of that goes into it. And like I wrote in the Welcome to the U piece, you can put Brashard at kick returner, punt returner. You can put him at running back. You can put him at a second running back. You can put him in the slot. You can put him in, and in high school, they go 3-by-1 a lot at Palmetto. So 3 receivers to the one side and then 1 to the other side. He'll be number 3, as in the closest to the offensive tackle. So not the outside, not the slot. He'll be the 3rd receiver to that side. He'll play the number 3 and still do numbers. So you can put him at 1, 2, or 3 if you're going on a trip side. You can put him at the point of the diamond if you're going to go in that kind of formation. You can put him in a lot of different places, but you're going to probably have to scheme him because he's not going to just jump over dudes. You're not going to throw a fade to him and he's going to just, again, Amon Richards. We could just say, hey, go get it. It doesn't even have to be a great throw. You don't even have to go be open. Just out athletic this guy because you're 6'2" and can jump out of the gym. Brashard Smith does not have that height, and I think that that's a big part of it. But when you look at him as an offensive weapon, and this is the position that I've been talking about, I wanted Miami to have for years. And it goes back to, and even before Joystick McKenzie, because you can put him in any of these places. And on any given play, you give the kid the ball, you're queuing up the band and changing the scoreboard because it's a touchdown. And I think that dynamic ability, you have to really know what you're doing to unlock it, and you have to use it sparingly. Not sparingly, but like carefully and intentionally. Think of it like a ghost chili pepper. It works. It's very flavorful. It is a wonderful addition to your meal if you use it right at the right time in the right amount. But you're not just going to put all of it all over everything on your scrambled eggs every day because it doesn't have that kind of utility.
He's not the featured receiver that's going to catch 12 in any given game or 70 for the season. He almost sounds in utilization like a Dexter McCluster.
Absolutely. Oh, if we used him like Dexter McCluster, but even a little bit more by integrating him into like the return game. Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. Perfect comparison.
Wow. I just pulled that out. Ole Miss, Kansas City Chiefs. All right, BGPO football funk.
Yeah,
boy,
but he's a jackknife player. Oh yeah, let's go. I like this one.
BGPO football funk. Are you ready for Cam to cut loose on this one? Outside King, who does Miami have on offense?
The number 1 tight end in America is Brevin Jordan.
I knew you were going to start
for the Miami Hurricanes, and he starts on offense. He's the best tight end in America. Why would I start anywhere else? Duh. The other tight end, Will Mallory, would start on a majority of Power 5 teams. You have him as well. There's a lot of wide receivers. Most of them are unproven. But you have D. Wiggins, who had a touchdown against Florida State last year. Mark Pope, who's the most physically impressive guy with his combination of, 5'11" height with, quickness and speed. So hopefully he's able to unlock that. You have Mike Harley, who's a track star, who's a great speed receiver as well. You brought in 4 wide receivers in this last recruiting class, and they all have a variety of skills, which obviously need to translate to the college level and be proven. You have Cameron Harris, great name, by the way, who is the starting running back. And he, could push over 1,000 yards. He took over, was paired with DJ Dallas last year, moved ahead of Lorenzo Lingard, who was a 5-star. As they were both in the same freshman class, Lingard got hurt. Cam Harris just was on that grind. And, with or without Lingard, he elevated his game to the point where he was the number 2 and he's going to be the number 1 this year. Then you bring in the best 2-man recruiting class at running back last year in Jalen Knighton and Donald Chaney Jr. Then you have an offensive line where you're going to add Jared Williams, who played tackle with Derek King at Houston for 3 years. So he comes in as a veteran leader and a proven one at this level, not necessarily like a Tommy Kennedy trying to step up from Butler, who we had great hopes for, and that obviously did not work out. But you have a guy with that ability. And then you have other guys who have started along the line and played well. You have Ja'Kai Clark, you have DeLon Scaife, you have Corey Gaynor. You have other guys who are fighting to be in that 5th slot as well. So I think that the scheme is going to help them as well. So you might not necessarily know their names, but the scheme is going to help move them forward. So, you have a new scheme that's going to put guys hopefully in space, the ability to make guys miss. And all these guys have shown that. Deke Wiggins, he's kind of height and speed combination guy, but not quick, but he still makes guys miss. Mark Pope, he can stop on a dime. Mike Harley, he stops on a dime and then gets back up to 7th gear really quickly. We can bring up the highlights from every high school game and camp and recruiting thing of Donald Chaney at the Army All-American Bowl in 7-on-7, making 5 guys miss on the way to the end zone. Jalen Knighton is the 2nd all-time career-leading rusher in Broward County history behind the deceased Tyrone Moss, as one of only 2 guys ever to go over, 6,000, I want to say, or 5,000 rushing yards in Broward County high school football history. There are guys on this offense. So it is led and orchestrated by Derek King, who, by the way, was officially named as QB1 this past week. Didn't necessarily write anything about it because when he came over, I wrote and said he's going to be quarterback 1. You can debate your mom. I don't care. But that's what it's going to be. We didn't bring him in to sit the bench. And that was borne out to be true. So like I said, you should be listening to what I'm saying. But in addition to Derek King, there are lots of players on this offense, and hopefully offensive coordinator Rhett Lashley has the ability to put them in positions to be successful as well.
Many people encouraging everyone to hit the like button, including Nate _561. Nate, we appreciate you saying, don't hit the like button. You better punch it because this show is amazing. That's all due to this guy, Cam Underwood, State of the U. So please join him for even more extensive coverage of Miami sports and football in particular. And, of course, lock it in here, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Earlier today, we posted a video with Phil Steele promoting and previewing the 2020 football season. So we've got plenty of content coming your way. All right, here we got the schedule in front of me. Took me about 5 links to finally find a chart that we can follow. So keep in mind, Miami.
Well, let me stop you there. If you would have just went to stateoftheu.com and the piece that I whipped together in the 20 minutes before I got on here, it was right there.
Okay, that's for everyone else too. I didn't necessarily have the time for that, but
all good.
I just did a search ACC schedule. So, but there you go. They're even on top of conference-related items like that. So I'm looking at the chart here, and keep in mind, everyone, that the original schedule was, of course, all division games plus Wake Forest and Florida State. Wake Forest and Florida State were the cross-division games, and then, of course, the ACC Coastal. Now we're looking at a schedule that includes, let me organize this in my head, out-of-division games against Florida State, Clemson, Louisville, NC State, and Wake. 4 division games for out of division games.
I
wonder why
5-5
priority or why that came to be.
I think that the ACC took a look at the teams and were able to feed into some storylines that we have been cultivating and speaking about, we bloggers and media over the course of time. So, you change things up. So dropped from the schedule are the Duke Blue Devils. That is a Coastal Division game that we would play annually. They're not on the schedule for Miami this year. And so I wrote it up. The home games are Florida State, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, and Virginia. So all of those teams were originally on the schedule. All of them were supposed to come to South Florida this year, with the exception of Virginia that came down last year. And if you remember, and you've seen it on social media, somebody who's speaking right now was the Dunkin' Donuts High Energy Fan of the Week at the Virginia game last year. So, so they're back again this upcoming season. So that would be your 5 home games. And again, Florida State being your traditional crossover, your annual crossover to the Atlantic Division, and those other 4 being Coastal Division teams, boom. But when you go to the away games, that's when things flip up. Okay, we were going to go to Wake Forest as the secondary ACC or Atlantic crossover. That stays. You're going to go to Virginia Tech because they came down here last year, and then we're going to go up there. That stays. Like I said, the Duke game is gone. You're replacing them with NC State, Louisville, and the beast that is known as the Clemson Tigers. And like I wrote this like right at the top of the piece or the away game and analysis. Look, we've been talking about measuring this program against Clemson in the ACC championship game because that was the only place that we're going to meet this year. And obviously they are one of the gold standard programs in football right now, in college football. It's, currently the champions are LSU, Alabama, Georgia. You can throw an Ohio State in there, and Clemson. Those and Oklahoma. But outside of those handful of teams, everybody else is on a secondary tier. So you want to beat the best. To be the best, you have to beat the best. Now, that's going to happen. That opportunity is going to come during the season. I like it. I'm of the opinion that you respect all opponents and fear none. It's going to be tough to go into their barn to beat them. Obviously, the last 2 times I know that we've lost, and it's been ugly. 58-0 in Al Golden's swan song in 2015, 35-3 in the ACC championship game in 2017. So 93-3 aggregate over the last 2 times that we played them. I know it's tough. I know that they're a monster program, but you cannot be scared of them. And look, if you have a De'Aaron King and you have a Rhett Lashley and you have all this talent on offense, and that question was about offense. I didn't even talk about this defense. This defense has been one of the best in America for a long, long time. Okay. You have elite talent at defensive end. You have talent, even though it might be unproven, at defensive tackle. You got talent and athleticism at linebacker. You have elite safeties, cornerbacks. They got some big, tough, nasty wide receivers, and our cornerbacks got to step up there. You got a kicker, and Jose Borregales comes over from FIU. Hopefully settles that. Lou Headley is a very good punter. You got a plethora of guys who can return kicks and punts and things like that and affect the special teams game. But this is the time. This has to be it, and you have to step into the opportunity. You cannot shy away from it. They put their pants on just like we do. They put their socks on. They put their shoes on. They tie them the same. Look, I know that that's a tough team, but that's the game. I don't even know what week it is because, again, the detailed calendar of the schedule has not been released yet. That's the one that I'm circling. Sure, yes, of course. Florida State, that game is different. Yeah, they are always a featured game as well. But anytime that you have the opportunity to go up against the Clemson, and I look at it as an opportunity, you have to step into that. You cannot shy away from it. It's like Inside Run. Or whatever that game was. I'm not going to say the name because we're a little older and maybe more sensitized, but some people called it I don't know. It was the get the guy with the ball game. We called it STQ, if you know that acronym.
Yep. I got it now. I thought for sure as soon as you said game, I thought I'm not going to get this because I'm not a gamer guy, but you went back old school. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I went back to recess with it.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So I, get the guy with the ball, STQ. I'm not, like I said, whatever. But you could not play that game and not only love contact, but seek it out. You know what I mean? That couldn't be you couldn't be the backup running back from Friday Night Lights, Chris Comer, where there's a guy on the edge and you step out of bounds. It's like, oh, I'm a speed guy. I'm going out of bounds. Like, no, you got to turn that back in. You got to be Greg Jones against Dexter Reed. I don't know that I brought up a Florida State guy, but remember that run when he put the forearm in that dude and flung him 5 yards and his helmet went off? You got to be that guy. You know, you got to be Cam Harris when he was running over guys this last year. You know, and it's like, okay, I could go this way and maybe get 3 yards, or I could go through your chest and get those 3. You have to have that mentality. And so for the Miami Hurricanes this year, you cannot shy away from it. You cannot just say, oh, well, I'll do it, or da-da. No. You have to go full bore into everything, and especially into this Clemson game. And look, man, you have De'Aaron King. He's a singular talented quarterback, the likes of which Miami has not seen in a long time. And his skill set is different than pretty much any of those quarterbacks that made Miami quarterback you and won Heismans and everything like that. You have this guy for 1 year. You got to rock it till the wheels come off. And I know that we're going into Clemson, South Carolina. I know it's going to be tough. I know that they're a beast program. I know that they have whipped our ass repeatedly the last couple times we played. But the only way we beat them is that we line it up and we hit that field. And that's what we're going to do. So, I mean, we're going to line up and hit that field. I'm not saying that we're going to 100% win, but we're going to give it 100%. We're going to give it our damnedest. And look, there's been other teams that have come close. There's been other teams. Look, the Pitt super weapon, lame, 6-7, 7-6, 8-5. Pitt beat them twice. Syracuse, nobody's incredible team. 8-win ceiling. They've beaten Clemson. Look, when you cut them, do they not bleed? Shout out to Shakespeare. Yes, they do. So for anybody who's there scared and fearful, I would say have an appropriate level of respect for the gravitas of the game and, the importance of that program and the stature of that program. But we're not scared. We're Miami Hurricanes. We're going to go in there. We're going to punch them in the mouth and see what happens.
Fresh 3542. I know that Logan's still your favorite, but thank you for the compliment on the shirt. So when I take a quick glance at the schedule without really analyzing it, and I promised everyone that I would break down all the Power 5 schedules, revised schedules once they were released, and I will hit the ACC as soon as I possibly can, but it's a whirlwind Wednesday for me. Conference calls all day, 2 consecutive live streams, work all night, and then hop on an airplane, so it may be Thursday or Friday before I get to this. But my quick snap is that there are the breakdown to the ACC is basically Clemson and then your talented teams that we don't know about yet, i.e. Miami, North Carolina, Florida State. And then you've just got a glut of teams that I don't know if Pitt's better than Wake Forest, is better than Virginia, that's better than Virginia Tech. They're all pretty much in the same category. So this schedule is automatically more difficult for one reason, Clemson. Because otherwise, it's the same schedule. Sure, you lose a Duke and you lose a couple other teams from the Coastal. Who else from the Coastal do you lose?
That's it.
Just Duke.
Yeah, because we play Virginia, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Pittsburgh.
What if you're playing Clemson, Louisville, NC State, and Wake you usually only play 2 Coastals or 2 Atlantic.
But you usually have 4 non-conference games. You know what I mean?
Wait, how many conference games do we have?
10.
Oh, hey. Yeah, that is 5 and 5. Okay, right. I'm still getting into this here.
Yeah, so I mean, you lose Duke, and then you eat up some of the non-conference with these other Atlantic teams. So yeah, the only one that you lose, because there's us, so we can't play us. So obviously we're out. But you got Duke, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, and Duke are the 6 other teams. So yeah, you play the five other ones that are not named Duke.
You play everyone but Duke, Boston College, and Syracuse out of the other 13 possibilities. Okay, got it. So the schedule is only more difficult because of
Notre Dame as the 15th. Notre Dame.
Okay. So the schedule is more difficult for one reason. You play Clemson. Everybody else is just, who knows? We think North Carolina is good, and we're all basing that on 7-6 and Mac Brown. But they went 7-6 last year. I expect them to be really good, but it's not like it's a given.
Right.
Okay. And there is, North Carolina in the schedule, so that's still going to be a marquee game. Do we know if there's going to be a division format still?
No, there's no division as announced today. It is everybody plays their 10, and then the top 2 teams make it to the ACC championship game. So think of us as the Big 12 East in that regard. And Notre Dame is playing a full 10-game ACC schedule, and they are eligible for the ACC championship game for this season.
They miss Miami.
Yep.
Most likely in my opinion, 3rd to 4th best team in the division or conference before we start play. They have to play North Carolina. They play Florida State. They play Clemson. And then again, everybody else is just kind of a mishmash. Okay. All right. So I'll be looking out for those teams that don't have to play Clemson. If there's any contenders out there that don't have to play Clemson, I see Virginia Tech has to play Clemson. Wake has to play Clemson. Does anybody miss Notre Dame and Clemson, or Notre Dame and Miami, or Notre Dame and, one? Yeah. Does anybody miss 2 out of the Big 4 or Big 3? If you're saying Clemson and then looking at Miami, North Carolina, Florida State.
No, Clemson is Clemson.
If anybody who could be a contender, Louisville.
I mean,
they don't play Clemson.
They don't?
Louisville does not play Clemson, but they do have Notre Dame, Miami, and Florida State. They don't play North Carolina, so that's a pretty light touch for them.
Duke, they play Florida State and Notre Dame, and they're Duke. So Florida State plays, obviously, Clemson, Louisville, and Notre Dame, and North Carolina. RIP. Georgia Tech plays us, Clemson, Notre Dame, Louisville, and Florida State. RIP. Louisville, we already talked about. Us, we already talked about. North Carolina plays Florida State, Notre Dame, but misses Clemson. So there's that. NC State plays Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, and they miss both.
But unless they really turn it around,
right.
They were 1-7 last year.
Exactly. But I mean, hey, yeah, that's a team that plays or that misses both. Pittsburgh, Louisville, Notre Dame, Florida State. So Pittsburgh plays all 5. RIP. Syracuse plays Clemson and Notre Dame and Louisville and North Carolina, but miss us. Virginia plays Louisville, North Carolina, us, Florida State, and Clemson. So they play all 5. Virginia Tech, Clemson, Miami, Louisville, North Carolina, but miss Notre Dame. And Wake Forest, I believe, plays all 5. No, they play 4 of the 5. They miss Florida State.
So we acknowledge everybody's comments and questions, but keep in mind that there are many topics that Cam has hit on either earlier in the show or sometimes in recent weeks multiple times. And so I will give him the opportunity if he has more to say, but if it can certainly rest on what's been talked about in recent weeks. And this particular comment by King Louis has to do with Miami taking advantage of the COVID pandemic situation to keep kids at home and us. And of course, he's also making a comparison between Roscoe Parrish and Brashard Smith.
There are elements of the comparison that I think work. It's not 100% accurate just because Roscoe Parrish was also very thin in addition to being a little short. But yeah, I mean, I think that invariably you can talk about the fact that, whatever's going on in this pandemic, Miami is capitalizing in terms of recruiting, whether it's guys, realizing that, they want to live close to home. They want to be in this area. They want to be closer to family. Like one of my personal foundational beliefs is family comes first. I've said this for a long time, if for all of our writers at State of the U, I've said that, people are like, hey, I got to step away for a little bit, or I had something, family comes first, like I've seen that in action, I'm not going to go into details, but I've seen myself, I've taken time off and I've done things because my family comes first. I've seen my mother do it. I've seen my grandmother do it. I've seen my aunts and uncles and cousins do it. Family comes first. And I think that, a lot of these guys share a similar belief, and you're seeing that. The Miami coaching staff is here to build these relationships, to be family-like, and then just having people around like that. So, yeah, I think that you're having this movement, and then there has to just be a time when there doesn't have to be, but when programs change in a big, massive way, there's just buy-in from a lot of players, whether it's the 83 recruiting class for Miami, whether it's the, 2008-9 recruiting class for Alabama, like there's a time when a lot of people of a similar level of talent at a similar time come together and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And whether that's because of the coronavirus pandemic situation, I don't know if it's correlation or causation. I don't know if it's just happening in this year or it is being driven to happen because it's in this year. But Miami's on a roll in recruiting, man. We got 21 commitments right now. We're number 10 in the country. People are asking me, are we going to get a top 5 class, this and third? I don't necessarily see that happening just because we're low on numbers left. And on top of that, either you need to have guys in the boat get massive ratings bumps, or you need to flip those guys out for other blue chip guys, 4- and 5-star guys, which I don't necessarily see because for the most part, Miami's probably going to want to keep these guys. But yeah, like I said, I don't know if it's correlation or causation, but Miami's on a roll right now in recruiting, and I hope it continues.
I saw comments, a few in the live chat that lead me to a couple items that may give the Miami fan a little bit more hope against Clemson. So think major upsets, and I'm thinking additionally on the next level, Patriots Giants, when New England was undefeated. What was the great equalizer in that game was defensive end play. Jason Pierre-Paul, Michael Strahan, those guys coming after the quarterback and beating tackles and getting to a great quarterback, because great quarterback play doesn't exist when the guy's on his rear end. Fact. And if this team has 2 great, and possibly with Jalen Phillips, 3 great pass rushers against a Clemson team that has recruited off the charts everywhere, but if there's one position where it's been not quite elite, it's offensive line, and they lose some of their best to the NFL this year, that could be a good key for Miami. Justin Ross also injured, out for the season, Clemson's best wide receiver. And I'm thinking Clemson standard here, their wide receiver play was still really good last year, but it wasn't quite as good as you would think, and they are kind of searching at that position right now.
Yeah, I mean, but there's talented options. Frank Ladson from Homestead South Dade is a guy, who's there. I mean, they got guys on the roster, and so, I mean, like I was talking about earlier, Miami has talented but unproven guys at wide receiver. Clemson has more talented but unproven guys at wide receiver. You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, it's a thing, and then obviously in that Super Bowl, you got an incredible play by an incredible player, with that helmet catch, David Tyree, so is that a D Wiggins moment? Is that a Brevin Jordan? Is that a Will Mallory type moment? Is that a Mark Pope? Is that one of the freshman wide receivers, a Michael Redding, my guy, Keyshawn Smith, Daz Worsham, record-setting wide receiver from Alabama high school football, Xavier Restrepo, who's a technician in the slot, Mike Harley in his last go-round, Cam Harris making a play in the run game, the offensive line does something, Derek King, obviously, who's been proven to be one of the better quarterbacks. And P.S., by the way, let me stop right there. I saw an Oklahoma 247 writer, so like a career journalist, right, full-time, who decided that he wanted to talk down about Derek King and said, when we named him the number 1 quarterback, starting quarterback, QB1, he then quote tweeted a tweet from somebody saying that. He said, this is a guy who only threw for 167 yards against Oklahoma's defense, which we saw LSU throw for however many yards against and everything. Thoughts and prayers to Miami. And everybody then quoted it back and said, well, first of all, 2 things. Number 1, you're going to just discount the 110 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions that went along with that, right? And after the game, your head coach, quarterback guru, Lincoln Riley, said that he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in college football, and 5 might be too many, saying that there's not even a handful of guys better than this dude. But you fixed your fingers to tweet this and thought you had one, because he went to Miami, because he threw for fewer than 200 yards, but had almost 300 yards total offense and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions on 70 or 60% completions against your defense still? Like, he didn't sit there and dot you up. Like, okay, he didn't sit there and throw for 1,000,000 yards like Joe Burrow did. Fair. but he did numbers. So, and again, your coach gave him the high praise of saying there's not 5 quarterbacks in college football better than this guy. I was just, people will say anything for attention, you know, and it's like, and I'm friends with this other kid, Harrison. You know, he put up a tweet about Miami going 0 for 5 at Palmetto. Everybody screenshotted it. Now Miami has 2 of the Palmetto 5 committed. He's deleted that tweet, started a new podcast. Hey, congratulations on that. He's saying, oh, come listen to the podcast, and, you know, I'll talk about this infamous deleted tweet. I'm not going to be shock jocked. I'm not going to, like, and maybe that's the reason, you know, that I'm here. But I'm just trying to be about this good content, boss. I don't have to shock jock you. I don't have to play these games. I don't have to, oh, well, coming up next time and da-da-da-da, or I say something and, you know, outlandish, and then come listen to me explain it away and da-da-da. Why? For who, for what? I give it to you straight. I give it to you real. 100% of the time. But to see that from, I mean, and like, hey, obviously, I mean, you want to do what you want to do. Buddy has a full-time journalist job. I've applied for a couple and don't have one. So, hey, maybe he knows something I don't know. Harrison has a full-time podcast and everything. Hey, maybe he knows something I don't know. But it just seems incredible to me that, especially in terms of Miami, that people just need to feel the need to be so outlandish when the truth is just right there.
Yeah, or maybe they know someone you don't know. That could be it as well, rather than something. And anytime somebody throws stats in, hey, I'm the first guy that goes to the stats just to start the conversation. I think it's a good conversation starter. Okay, how good is Barry Bonds? Okay, let's look at the numbers, and then we go from there and we start talking. But yeah, there's obviously a difference. I'm switching sports, but between this guy's a power hitter. He hit 18 home runs last year. This dude's a power hitter. He hit 45. Okay, well, unless you can really start to talk up the 18 home run guy, I'm thinking the 45 home run guy's better. But let's talk about it. And so, yeah, the stats are a starter. But I hate people that just throw out a total stat number and make that the end all be all. Effectiveness at quarterback play is a lot more to do, again, with effectiveness. And that's when QBR was developed, and not just do you throw for 4. Shoot, there's a long list of Washington State quarterbacks that have been effective, ineffective, depending on the week, that throw for 455, these ridiculous numbers, but they may include 3 or 4 picks and a 45 for 72 that included a lot of bad incompletions.
You know, exactly.
A lot of bad decisions.
It's just one of those things. And just to wrap it up, because I feel like it was the opener. He threw for 167 yards on 52 completions. I'm sorry, 52% completions with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. Deer King did against Oklahoma, and then ran for 103 and a touchdown also on a 7-yard per carry average. Yes, they got blown out because it was Houston playing. And I mean, look, they didn't even get that blown out. It was 49-31. You know what I mean? But just say, oh, he only threw for 167 yards. So we're not going to talk about the 2 touchdowns and no interceptions? We're going to talk about that? We're not going to talk about that he got you for more than 100 yards and a tutty on the ground? Like, because it run of 15 games having a passing and rushing touch. We're going to talk about any of that stuff? We're just going to cherry pick this one number and say because he threw for fewer yards than Joe Burrow, who had one of the legendary seasons ever in the history of life passing the ball at the college level, because that number wasn't the same, then he's not a worthy college player? Come on, man. You're smarter than that. And as someone who's a credentialed full-time journalist, I expect better of that, of you. So, buddy, Alan Oliver, I think is his name. Do better.
Let's recognize the Super Chat contributions from King Louie, Yella 265, BGO. I got to tell you, DeAndre, your BGPO football funk is a difficult one for me to spit out each and every time. I got to look at the letters BGPO football funk. Yes. Thank you so much for the Super Chat contribution. And there are others that I will take to the screen as soon as I get to them in the live chat. One thing that came to mind for me as people were either proclaiming a upset win at Clemson or saying you're going to get blown out, it's at Clemson. Keep in mind, no fans or few fans. So it's not like going into Death Valley at any other time. Also keep in mind that the Clemson 2016 national championship team that lost to the aforementioned team from Pittsburgh that Cam mentioned, that game was at Death Valley. the Syracuse almost win. The win was at the Dome, but then they came back the next year. And aside from a Chase Bryce 4th and 8 completion that saved Clemson, Syracuse would have beat them in Death Valley. And actually, there was an NC State team that without a 30-yard missed field goal at the end of the game would have beaten Clemson and lost in overtime. So they also at home. And I believe North Carolina, I don't know where that game was played, the 2-point conversion last year. I think that was at Clemson.
It was also the Lamar Jackson Louisville team with the Lamar Jackson experience when that wide receiver decided to go out of bounds instead of cutting it inside. I'm still upset about that.
Remember that because I bring that up too. I'm like, buddy, the game's on the line. You're forcing you to beat one of the best teams in the country.
Like you can't try the shake and go. You know what I mean? You can't try to give him the head nod and then because it was 1-on-1. On the boundary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember well. I bring it up from time to time.
I mean, shake, stick that left foot in the ground, cut it back to the right, buddy. Like it's green grass and a legendary win. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm going to step out of bounds and try to save the time. There's no time. It's 4th and goal. What do you mean? Like,
is this not the exact situation in which you lift all the weights and do all the sprints and 2-a-days in 95-degree heat for that moment?
I mean, look, I know I was a basketball player growing up, and you take that shot. You want that shot at the buzzer. You know, we had 2 game winners when I played at Cranbrook, and I assisted on one of them because it was like a press break, and I was at midcourt, and then I hit a guy on the wing, and then the other one. I was kind of like falling off balance weirdly, and like they were going to pass it to me, and I ended up like catching my balance, but then ended up setting a flare screen, and then Zeke Callanan hit the game winner like based off of my screen. So I was there for that, but like I was ready. You know what I mean? Both times. I just happened to be in a different spot, but like Zeke made one, and then I forget who the other one was who made the other one, but like, yo, yes, that's why you do all those sprints. Like you don't want that moment of you and some other guy standing between you for glory. And you have the opportunity with the ball, you know, if it's in basketball, yeah, of course. Like you can get a game-winning walk-off block. Nobody wants that. You want to hit the shot. In football, you don't want the ball in your hands at the 10-yard line, one-on-one. Bro, all this 7-on-7 that you play, all of these after practice, we're going to go out there, we're going to catch these passes. I'm going to run these sprints. I'm going to run this hill. I'm going to do all of this for that one moment. And then you step out of bounds like Chris Comer in the second quarter of the game for Friday Night Lights, who I already mentioned. Fam, I'm still upset. And I'm neither a Clemson nor a Louisville fan, but just in general, like, you went out sad.
Because I wanted to see the first down converted. I think it was a 5-point game because I wanted to see more Lamar Jackson against the Clemson defense in the red zone to see what's going to happen.
It wouldn't even been a conversion. It would have been a touchdown.
Was that a touchdown?
Yeah. If he would go back and look, if he would have cut it inside, he would have scored. He would have scored 100%. Scored.
Okay, we got Mixter Juxtapose 2011. So earlier he had commented on Kyle Pitts, Florida tight end. He's got better numbers than Brevin Jordan. How is a guy that catches 2 touchdowns? I believe it was more than that, 3 or 4. But anyway, Brevin Jordan better than Kyle Pitts.
Because Kyle Pitts is a wide receiver. He's not a tight end, and he doesn't block. Yes, he had a few better numbers, but Brevin Jordan also missed time and should have been the Mackey Award winner. Next question.
Or you could say, as the Punisher did, Brevin Jordan is light years better than any of the Clemson tight ends. Pitts don't have on Brevin Jordan.
Well, I mean, look, people are gonna make the same mistake that they did with David Njoku. And David Njoku wasn't even a complete tight end, but you draft Evan Ingram over him as an oversized wide receiver earlier and things like that. And you're gonna fall in love with Kyle Pitts because he's 6'5", he can run and he catches balls because he's a glorified wide receiver. He's a big-bodied wide receiver. Okay, but no, Brevin Jordan any day of the week and twice on Sunday.
MSU #1 fan. That's Michigan State, by the way. I think Cam should be on the Florida State show.
Right through for MSU. Watch the team keep growing. Yeah, I know the game. That fight song. Yeah, I don't know what's been going on with this, but apparently these dudes have been having my name in their mouth and everything, and like I mean, they're saying, "Oh, we've been trying to get you on. We've been trying to get you on." I've not heard word the first from you.
It's one dude, actually.
I haven't heard anything from this guy. Okay, it's like I don't even know who you are. He's like, "Oh, we did the live show before Florida State, Miami last year." So, oh, okay, you're that guy. Cool, awesome. I don't know you, bro. You know what I'm saying? And like, I mean, you haven't hit me on Twitter on either account. You haven't come to the website. My email address is right there on Twitter, stateoftheublog@gmail.com. My Gmail inbox has been dry. You know what I mean? You haven't hit up Mark. You haven't hit up anybody that writes for State of the U to say, hey, can you get me in contact with Cam? Or There's been no actual technical move made. You've been trying to get me on the show just like I've been trying to get Rihanna to date me by thinking it and seeing a picture of her in her Rihanna or doing her Fenty stuff and being like, man, that would be great. I would love to go on a date with her. And then moving on with my day and not doing anything to make I'm not saying that I have the access or communication to be able to make that happen, but you've had, with more access, have done the same level of communication and engagement. You cannot all of a sudden come in here later and say, oh, you've been ducking me and blah, blah, blah. They say, oh, look at me, your insight in air quotations. And then I say, yo, you negging me is not going to get me on here. Oh, it's not a neg. It absolutely is a neg, and I'm smart enough that I know that, and I'm smarter than you, so don't try me with the stupid bullshit. But I'm tired of you, all of a sudden, I just see my mentions are going, and I'm like, I was on a break from the secret day job. What do you, I was at work, the job that actually pays the bills. I do this, and I do get some compensation from these, media endeavors that I do and things like that. But no, that's the job that keeps this light on. That's over my head. This internet that I'm talking to you on, that bought this microphone and this computer and this, electricity and all these things. That's the job that I was at, bro. So I get that you're on Tuesday night and everything, but if I don't have the ability to do that, then I don't have the ability to do that. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to drag my name through the mud. You're not going to say that I'm sitting here ducking you like I'm scared of you or something like that. Oh, well, I've been trying. You haven't tried anything, to be perfectly, frankly honest. So if you want to have a conversation, then step to me like a man and say, hey, can we get time that, you and I and Mark can get together and put it up on YouTube and have that conversation? That's something I'm interested in. But you coming out here and making it seem as though I've been running away from you, scared or something, you got me messed up. And the only reason that I edited that is because I respect Mark's channel and I don't want him to get a explicit tag on it. But now you got me messed up. So I would say, again, if you want to handle this, then you can come to me like a man, and then we can schedule a time where I will come here and we can have any kind of conversations you want to. It can be contentious, it can be comical, it can be fun, it can be whatever you want. But what you're not going to do is drag my good name, Cameron James Underwood, through the mud. That's what you're not going to do. And I suggest that be the last time that happened, quite frankly.
So I appreciate the direct rebuttal from Cam. I also appreciate him keeping it clean to keep my channel in good standing. So basically what happened is Jason Parker is on our Florida State show, and almost every week, as you can imagine, first of all, Cam, our Florida State Live chat is full of Miami fans. So
fair.
Trash, and that's why we're here. So we enjoy it as long as it's not personal. Talk trash back and forth, have a good time. And Jason takes exception to this, and then he gets into fights with Miami fans. And so then he typically calls you out. I don't know why he gravitates to you. It must be because you're on my channel as well.
Right.
And then makes some kind of comment. Well, you got to get Cam on here. We'll get Cam on here, or I'll go on your Miami show. And I just simply say, either ignore it, or I say, yes, there's always something to talk about when it's Miami, Florida State. Sure, we could be trading guests back and forth, and you guys could mix it up for hours, I'm sure. But I typically respond with, is there a particular topic we're going to bring to the forefront that we can, and then there's never a response. And so then I just kind of leave it be. And there's never been, an official invitation through myself or directly to you to have this conversation. And then all this on Twitter.
You know what I mean? And that's my thing. That's what I'm saying. Just don't sit here. And I usually work Tuesday evenings. So I'm not able to pop in. I've never seen one of the Florida State shows even. but don't make it seem like it's something nefarious. Don't make it seem like you've thrown down the gauntlet. You've sent me a DM. You've tweeted me or something, and I just said, "Oh no, I'm not going to do it, Jason." No. Do not misrepresent it, and do not use my name as the foundation for you trying to boost yourself up. That's not what I'm about. Period. But again, and he said it because I said, I don't even know who you are. He said, "Oh, we did the show last year." I said, "Oh, cool. You're that guy. Now I remember." That's fine. We can do that. And I've done, Mark has been here. I've done things with, what's the name? Big Game James, 36. Yeah. James Coleman, I've done obviously with, this Jason guy. I've done crossover shows with other people, and everything. I'm not I'm not so vain that when I come on here or anything that it has to be only me or anything like that. That's not what it is. But like I said, you're not going to sit here and then just try to trash me like I've been running scared or something, because one thing I'm not in this world is scared, and least of all of you, and even less of speaking about the Miami Hurricanes versus a Florida State Seminoles fan. You know what I mean? Like, I got all the ammunition in the world. You think I wouldn't be running to my computer to light you on fire? Are you kidding me? Come on, bro. Oh, no. This question from Grayson Flowers. Lord goodness. If we play this season and say we end up somewhere around the vicinity of 500, so 6-5 in the regular season, and if the losses are close, well-fought battles, are we giving Manny a COVID weirdness size benefit of the doubt? No. I'm not. Because you cannot both sit here and say that there are reasons why Miami should be at a minimum competitive in this upcoming game against Clemson, and then also say 5 losses in the regular season is okay. I mean, 5 losses in the regular season is never okay. But even if we're talking 7-4 in these 11 games, 7-4 becomes a tough number for me. But I mean, absent serious extenuating circumstances, my answer is no.
So you're not going to give Manny a pass, but he doesn't lose his job under those circumstances, does he? Not with this recruiting haul.
And see, but that's the thing. You got this recruiting class and everything, and so you probably kick that down the road for one more year. But then again, you're banking on 2021, and you're opening against Alabama in Georgia. I mean, again, if that season is to be played as scheduled, with who at quarterback? N'Kosi Perry is a fifth-year senior. Tate Martell is a fifth-year senior. Tyler Van Dyke is a redshirt freshman. You got De'Aaron King and you got him for 1 year. But so if you drop the ball and miss this window now, and okay, we're going to keep Manny because we have this recruiting class. The majority of the class stays intact. Look, I already chose Miami. I'm coming to Miami. We're going to try to rebuild Miami. And then what's the threshold in 2021? You cannot keep pushing the ball or the buck down the road. You cannot just keep delaying things. You got to win, and you got to win now, bro.
Cheryl asked about Miami defensive rankings. So off the top of my head, I might be off by 1 or 2. I think I can take this, and Cam, obviously being the expert, can complement what I have to say because I just looked up this stat the other day. So 13th in total defense in 2019, top 25 in scoring defense, and a key statistic is yards per play. Miami defense number 7 in the country in yards per play given up, which a lot of people go to currently as 12th in total defense.
Yards per play.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so 4.74 yards, 13th overall. in total defense. 12th in yards per play, somewhere in that 20 to 30 range, probably in SP plus adjusted defense and things like that when you adjust for tempo. So top third. We did slip a little bit last year, had some of those things, but this is still a defense that's very, very good. They're going to be very, very good. They're going to get after you, obviously. Up front, there's talent everywhere. When you have some talented defensive tackles that need to step up, we have one of the best, if not the best, defensive end group in America. Athleticism and experience at linebacker. You got fifth-year senior Zach McLeod coming back off a red shirt. You got Sam Brooks and Avery Huff, who's a freak at linebacker. They're very athletic. Gilbert Frierson at striker. You got some of the best safeties in America, Bubba Bolden, Gervin Hall, Armari Carter, Avante Williams in as a true freshman is an amazing recruit. Cornerback, you have some blue-chip guys, but they need to step up, obviously. Isaiah Dunson, Christian Williams, Al Blaze Jr., DJ Ivy, Corey Couch, so all of those things. Luke Walker, when did I bring up the 90s? In passing, in the support of like one of the things. Have you been listening to what I've been saying today? Like seriously, like have you been, or do you have me on in the background and are kind of watching Law and Order or HGTV or something and like peeking in every once in a while? Because like I brought it up as a supporting statement, not as the focus of today's conversation. But if we're talking about bringing up the 90s, would you not want to bring up the 90s when Mac Brown was there first and you guys got up to number 2 in the country? Is that not a thing that you would want to do? I mean, because obviously I think that would be more of a beneficial conversation than last year. Even though you did beat us, you still went 7-6, right? So like the 90s would be a great time to bring up that team from before, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Hey, it is what it is.
This is what we do once a week. Cam Underwood, State of the U. So whether that's replying to your comments, questions, and debate topics, analyzing Miami personnel, looking at the ACC schedule, of course, breaking down recruiting, and taking on all challengers as well.
Big thanks. Like I said, I respect all opponents, but I fear none. And I stand on my good name. So I have that. On Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, we are at The State of the U. The website is stateoftheu.com. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports. So if you like this, hey, tweet me over there. And again, I do tweet about HGTV and other kinds of things and video games as well. So you can find all of that there. Our website is up 24/7, 365. We talk about Canes all the time, whether that's the ACC, whether that's football, basketball. We have a lot of great content going up even through this summer. We're going to tailor the schedule previews a little bit because we got to add in a couple of different teams and drop a couple of teams, but hey, that's okay. You can see what we've already written and see the player profiles, position previews, and everything else that's already over there. So like I said, if you enjoyed this, I appreciate it. I'm sure the Mark does as well. If you come on over to the State of the U, we'd appreciate it if you would fan with us. And that is that about that.
DeAndre, thank you so much for 2 more Super Chat contributions. The reason I did not take those to the screen is that if the live chat advances to a certain point, I can't go back and grab those. But thank you so much for 2 more Super Chats from DeAndre, big Clemson fan who comes on just about every live stream, and we hope you're well. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We will get you a day and time for Miami football talk next week. That's why it's important to subscribe to the channel, and you can see that we post college football content each and every day. Check out my conversation with Phil Steele. That's Phil Steele of his college football preview. We had a great conversation, as we did with Steve Dace of Michigan Podcast. I'm going to be releasing that video in just a few days, as well as Logan Robinson breaking down Florida State personnel, offense and defense. We did the same recently with Notre Dame, USC, and others right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And I will also be getting to each and every schedule as it's released. So the ACC today is released its schedule. I have a ridiculously busy day that started with me working all night, getting like 3 hours of sleep, doing content, live streams, conference calls for work. And now I've got to work all night and then jump on a plane. And so I'm going to be out of the loop for quite some time and not sleeping, but I will get to my ACC schedule analysis as soon as possible. And then when the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, and the Pac-12 are released, you can bet that I will break it down right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Thank you all so much. And for those in particular who deliver on the Super Chat, and also those of you who encourage everyone to like the videos, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.